Have you ever really stopped to think about the journey behind the most ordinary things you own? I mean, there's this incredible, almost invisible network that brings the entire world right to your doorstep, one package at a time. So let's pull back the curtain and explore it.
Okay, let's start with a simple question. How did that coffee get to your desk? Or what about the phone in your hand? Or even the chair you're sitting on right now? They didn't just magically appear, right? Every single one of them took a long, incredibly complex journey to reach you. Well, the answer is a massive global system of movement, storage, and information called logistics. You can think of it as the lifeblood of our modern economy, this invisible engine that's always running, touching nearly everything we own and use. So to really understand this invisible engine, we first need to define what we're actually talking about. This is Section 1, Logistics, Your World Delivered. You know, in simple terms, logistics is basically the science of getting things from point A to point B and managing absolutely everything in between. It covers both the movement and the storage of all kinds of materials, and it's a really vital piece of a much bigger puzzle that we call the supply chain.
All right, so to see this in action, let's follow the journey of a single product right from the very beginning. Welcome to Section 2, the product's first steps, from idea to factory.
This diagram here, it shows the basic path pretty much every product takes. But notice something really important. The journey doesn't start in a factory or a store. Nope, it begins way earlier with the very basics, raw materials.
Think about it for a second. A smartphone starts its life as things like sand, metals, and oil that are literally pulled from the earth. Logistics is the magic that moves those raw materials to a factory. The factory then does its thing, transforms them into the phone, and from there it's moved into a warehouse all ready for the next leg of its trip.
So, the product is made. Now what? This is where the real action begins. How do these finished goods actually get from the factory to the store and, ultimately, to you? The real workhorses of logistics are trucks and trains. Trucks, they offer incredible flexibility. They can go pretty much anywhere there's a road. Trains, on the other hand, are the absolute champions of bulk transport. They can efficiently move massive quantities of goods over very long distances.
But what if you need something there, like yesterday? That's when you turn to air freight. Sure, it's the most expensive option by far, but for high-value items or medical supplies or just really urgent deliveries, absolutely nothing beats the speed of a cargo plane.
Now, what's really fascinating about trucking is the cost breakdown. See, unlike a lot of other businesses, the fixed costs, like the truck lease, they're relatively low. A staggering 70% of the total cost is variable, meaning it changes with every single trip. And the single biggest variable? Fuel.
And this slide really illustrates a critical point. Modern logistics runs on data. It's not just about throwing boxes on a truck anymore. Technologies like GPS and barcodes let companies track a shipment in real time, while this incredibly complex software orchestrates the controlled chaos of a warehouse. It ensures the entire process is transparent and secure from start to finish.
So now we arrive at what is often the most difficult and frankly the most expensive part of the entire journey. This is Section 4, the final mile, getting it to the customer.
We tend to think of this as a simple one-way flow. The factory makes a product and it flows downstream to us, the consumer. But what happens when you need to send something back?
This is where we see the two sides of the logistics coin. Forward logistics is that traditional flow we all know so well, but reverse logistics, that's the equally complex process of moving goods backward, from the customer all the way back upstream for returns, repairs, or recycling.
A fantastic example of this is a recycling program. I mean, when a company like Nespresso collects its used coffee pods, it is managing a massive reverse logistics operation. They have to figure out how to get millions of those tiny little pods from individual homes all the way back to a central facility for processing. It's a huge undertaking. This whole idea of bringing products back, it opens up a much bigger question. What should happen to a product at the end of its life? Let's explore that in Section 5, Rethinking the End.
Okay, let's be honest. We all have one of these, a drawer of the dead, right? Filled with old phones, weird cables, and chargers that don't fit anything anymore. In the traditional model of logistics and consumption, this is it. This is the end of the line. These products just become e-waste.
For over a century, our economy has been built on this linear model.
We take resources from the earth, we make them into products, and when we're done with them, we dispose of them as waste. It's a one-way trip from the mine straight to the landfill.
But there's a powerful shift underway, and it's toward a circular economy. This model completely redesigns the system. Products are designed from the very beginning to be reused, repaired, and recycled. Suddenly, logistics isn't a one-way street anymore. It's a continuous loop.
So, what this really comes down to is a fundamental change in perspective. In a circular economy, there is no away to throw things to. The end of one product's life becomes the beginning of another's. Waste gets transformed into a resource, and logistics is the system that keeps that resource flowing.
To understand just how dominant the cost of logistics can be, you have to hear this amazing story from one of our source materials authors. While he was in Japan, he found a vending machine where a small 10-ounce can of Coke and a large 12-ounce can cost the exact same price. How is that possible? Well, it's because the cost of the actual liquid was almost nothing compared to the massive cost of the logistics required to get that can into that machine.
And that brings us to a final thought. This invisible network is on the verge of another massive transformation. With things like autonomous trucks, delivery drones, and AI-powered planning becoming a reality, the journey of everything we buy is about to get faster, cheaper, and a whole lot smarter. So the next time you take a sip of coffee, just think about the incredible journey it took to get to you, and the even more incredible one it might take in the very near future.